The kingdom of Aradia was a land whose name clung to the tongues of storytellers, like honey and fire, sweet with memory, yet burning with warning. Nestled between the silver-topped mountains of Sereth and the endless ruby plains, Aradia prospered under the rule of Queen Meloria the Wise, a ruler known for justice, foresight, and stern compassion. Aradia was a kingdom of warriors, scholars, and farmers alike, but none commanded more respect than the Order of the Dawn Shield, an elite fellowship of protectors sworn to defend the realm with unwavering loyalty. Trained from childhood, these warriors wielded blades etched with runes of old and carried shields that gleamed like captured sunlight. And among the Dawn Shield, a prophecy was whispered. When the shadows rise in the east and the sky burns without flame, Aradia shall face its darkest hour. Only a sacrifice unknown will preserve the kingdom. For centuries, that prophecy slept, until the year of the Black Autumn. That was when the disappearances began. First, it was traders traveling along the forest roads. Then, entire caravans vanished, leaving behind splintered wheels and crimson-soaked soil. No tracks, no bodies, no explanation. Rumors took root like weeds in the minds of the people. Something stirs in the Vale of Sorin. A creature old as time has awakened. The forest whispers with voices not human. Ordinary soldiers sent for reconnaissance did not return. Farmers near the border abandoned their homes. Night fires lit the horizon, unclaimed and unexplained. But the queen did not act in haste. Only when the sky over the Vale of Sorin turned a sickly red for 3 consecutive nights did she summon the Dawn Shield. And so began the tale of Aradia's finest and their final march. The palace courtyard was a mosaic of polished marble, glimmering under the late autumn sun. The entire Order of the Dawn Shield, 30 warriors strong, stood in formation. Their armor shimmered gold, their cloaks fluttering like banners of dawn. At their lead stood Commander Kalen Valor, the queen's most trusted blade. Kalen was a man of stoic resolve, with eyes as sharp as frost, but a heart fiercely loyal to the crown. He had never lost a battle, never retreated, never faltered. Queen Meloria approached, her violet cloak trailing behind her as the royal trumpets fell silent. "My warriors," she said, her voice steady, though the shadows beneath her eyes betrayed sleepless nights. "The Vale of Sorin calls for your bravery." A hush fell. The disturbances grow darker. We have lost scouts, soldiers, and even the forest itself withers. I fear. She hesitated, a rare crack in her regal composure. I fear something ancient awakens there. Commander Kalen knelt. "As dawn follows the night, we shall return victorious, Your Majesty." But the queen's expression did not ease. Instead, she placed a hand on his shoulder. "Kalen, Aradia's fate may hinge on you all. Do not underestimate what you face." The warriors rose. The queen stepped back. "To the Vale of Sorin," Kalen commanded, and the finest warriors in the kingdom marched out with banners high. Then A.B. tills our growl. But down in the long, and the kingdom holding its breath, none knew it would be the last time Aradia ever saw them. The journey east was quiet at first. Too quiet, bird songs were absent. The winds carried no scent, no pine, no earth, no decay. Only stillness. By the second night, Lyra noticed it first. "Commander, the stars." Kalen looked up. The heavens had shifted. Constellations misplaced themselves like scattered puzzle pieces. "The forest does not want us here," she whispered. On the 4th day, they reached the edge of the Vale of Sorin, a vast hollow surrounded by trees so ancient their trunks twisted like petrified serpents. Fog clung to the ground, refusing to lift even under sunlight. Thorn sniffed the air. "Rot," he muttered, and something else. Dorian crouched, touching the soil with a gloved hand. It pulsed faintly under his fingers. Alive, breathing. "This place is saturated with old magic," he murmured. "Older than Aradia." Elendor disappeared into the fog for a moment, scouting ahead. When he returned, his pale face was bloodless. "There are no footprints," he said softly. No signs of battle. No bodies. As if the missing men walked into nothingness. Kalen set his jaw. Stay close. No one wanders alone. They descended into the veil. The mist swallowed them whole. The deeper they marched, the thicker the fog grew. Shapes curled in the corner of their vision branches, or something else entirely. It began with the whispers. Soft, disjointed, inhuman. Seraphine was the first to stiffen. Do you hear that? Everyone paused. Windless whispers circled them, overlapping like 1,000 voices, murmuring through unseen mouths. Lyra clutched her bow tighter. They sound familiar. A whisper brushed Kalen's ear. Commander. He spun, blade drawn, but no one stood behind him. Seraphine took a step backward, her breath quickening. That was my mother's voice. She died years ago. Thorn's eyes widened with horror as he heard a deep rumble that mimicked his father's tone. Dorian whispered a prayer. Elendor stared into the fog, rigid as a statue. Kalen shouted, Hold your mind. It's illusion magic, meant to disorient. But the whispers only grew louder, clearer, mimicking loved ones, lost comrades, even the voices of the Dawnshield themselves. Then something shifted in the mist. A tall shadow crawled across the ground, not walking, but stretching. Elendor leaped forward. Move. Too late. The ground beneath one of the rear warriors swallowed him whole. One moment he was standing, the next, the earth rippled and dragged him beneath like quicksand. His scream was cut off instantly. The remaining warriors formed a tightened circle. Thorn slammed his shield into the ground, anchoring himself. Lyra fired arrows into the fog. Each one vanished without hitting anything. Kalen shouted, We advance, do not stop. But the veil had only begun its hunt. When night fell, darkness did not descend naturally. It fell like a curtain thick, oppressive, absolute. They set up camp in a small clearing. No fire would stay lit. Dorian's rune sputtered, barely glowing. What magic kills flame? He muttered. A hungry one, Lyra replied. Elendor vanished again to scout, and returned with a stiff gait. His voice trembled. The forest is rearranging itself. Kalen frowned. Explain. The trees move when we aren't looking. Lyra blanched. That's impossible. End quote. Look, Elendor pointed. An hour ago, a massive stone had stood behind them. Now, it was gone. The ground hummed faintly beneath their boots. Stay alert, Kalen said. No one slept that night, but exhaustion still crept into their bones. Halfway into the night, it came. A sound like bones grinding. A howl not belonging to any beast. The fog parted and the first shadow revealed itself. It had no true shape, a mass of smoke and sinew with countless eyes blinking open across its surface. A maw stretched across its torso, dripping ink like saliva. Thorn roared, charging with his shield. The creature lunged. Thorn's shield struck it and passed through as though hitting water. The shock threw him off balance. The creature wrapped black tendrils around him. Thorn, Seraphine screamed. Kalen slashed at the tendrils. They recoiled but reformed. Lyra shot glowing arrows at its eyes. Some burst like glass, others blinked back. Dorian's runes flared, releasing a burst of fire. The creature shrieked, finally injured, and retreated into the fog. But Thorn lay still. His eyes were open, empty, hollow. They had lost their strongest, and the night had only begun. By the next day, something shifted among the remaining warriors. Paranoia. Whispers no longer imitated dead loved ones, they imitated the Dawnshield themselves. Kalen heard Seraphine's voice whisper, Kill them, Commander. They will betray you first. Seraphine heard Kalen's whisper. She is weak. She will doom us. Even Elendor faltered. By midday, they reached a clearing overgrown with luminous vines. In the center stood an ancient stone altar carved with symbols none recognized. What is this place? Lyra whispered. Dorian traced the glyphs with trembling fingers. This altar predates the kingdom. It speaks of a guardian, sealed by blood. Before they could decipher further, shadows encircled them. Not creatures, reflections. Each warrior stared at a perfect copy of themselves, materializing from the mist armored, expressionless. Doppelgangers, Seraphine whispered. Kalen drew his sword. Stand ready. The replicas advanced. Steel clashed. Magic surged. Screams echoed. Elendor's twin fought with identical grace, anticipating every move. Seraphine's double moved faster than wind. Lyra's twin shot arrows so precise they grazed her cheek. The warriors were being matched by their own reflections, but the reflections felt nothing. Kalen realized the truth. They mirror us, he shouted. Break the pattern. He shifted his stance, feigned a strike, and instead slammed his pommel into the creature's knee. It stumbled, and he drove his blade through its throat. It dissolved instantly. One by one, the warriors adapted. But victory was not without cost. Elandor's double managed a fatal thrust before being slain. The assassin knight fell to his knees, blood streaming down his side. Leave me, he wheezed. No one is left behind, Kalen insisted. Elendor gripped his arm weakly. Then, live for me. His eyes dimmed. Another hero gone, the veil tightened its grasp. By the seventh day, only Kalen, Seraphine, Lyra, and Dorian remained. Their armor was dented, their spirits frayed, but their resolve burned brighter than ever. We press forward, Kalen declared. The source of this evil must be destroyed. They reached the deepest chamber of the veil, an enormous cavern beneath the earth, glowing with crimson light. At its center lay a colossal, pulsating mass fused with roots, bones, and ancient metal. It resembled a heart, a corrupted one. The heart of the veil, Dorian whispered. It's alive. As they approached, a figure emerged, tall, ageless, cloaked in shadows, eyes burning like embers in the dark. I am Elthoran the Devourer, it rumbled. Guardian of the old forest. Long have I slept. Your kingdom's expansion awakened me. Kalen stepped forward. Why slaughter innocents? Innocents? Elthoran laughed softly. Your kind poisons the earth with iron, cities, fire. You forgot your pact with the ancient spirits. I am balance. I am reclamation, Lyra glared. Balance does not consume souls. It does, the creature replied. When provoked, the cavern trembled. The heart pulsated violently. Seraphine whispered, It's feeding off the forest. No, Dorian corrected. It's feeding off fear. Elthoran lifted his hand. The shadows writhed. You will join your fallen comrades. The veil will reclaim all. Kalen raised his blade. Aradia does not surrender. The final battle began. Elthoran unleashed tendrils of darkness. Seraphine dodged, but one grazed her leg. She stumbled but recovered instantly, blades flashing. Lyra fired enchanted arrows that exploded against the creature's chest. Dorian inscribed runes in mid-air, releasing blasts of white fire. Kalen charged directly, but Elthoran was ancient, powerful, unbound. He swept the chamber with a wave of shadow that sent all four crashing to the ground. The heart pulsed eagerly, absorbing their pain. Seraphine rose first, sprinting so fast she blurred. She slashed the tendrils, cutting a path for Lyra's arrows. Now! Seraphine shouted. Lyra fired a luminous arrow straight into the heart. It shrieked, shaking the cavern. Elthoran roared, staggering. Dorian shouted, One more strike, I can overload its core. But before he could cast the final rune, a tendril pierced his chest. No, Lyra screamed. Dorian smiled weakly. For Aradia. He slammed his glowing palm against the heart. Light exploded. Elthoran shrieked as his body began to unravel. But the cavern collapsed. Stones rained down. A shock wave threw Kalen, Lyra, and Seraphine across the chamber. When the dust settled, Dorian was gone. The heart was dying, but so was the cavern. We need to leave, Seraphine yelled. Kalen grabbed Lyra's arm. They sprinted toward the exit, but Elthoran materialized one last time, weakened but vengeful. You shall not escape. Seraphine stepped in front of Kalen. Go. No, Kalen protested. We finish this together. She smiled sadly. You lead Aradia. I protect it. Before he could stop her, she launched herself at Aeltharan in a final suicidal strike. Their clash detonated the chamber. Kaelin and Lyra were hurled out of the collapsing tunnel. When the dust cleared, Seraphine was gone. Aeltharan was destroyed. But the veil continued to collapse. Lyra coughed, struggling to stand. Kaelin, we must return. Tell the queen. Kaelin nodded, supporting her as they limped through the dying forest. But the veil had one final cruelty. A remaining tendril, the last fragment of Aeltharan's will, erupted from the ground and struck Lyra through the back. Lyra, she fell into Kaelin's arms, blood staining her lips. With hope, Aradia lives, she whispered. Her eyes closed. Kaelin screamed until his voice broke. He was now alone. The warrior who never returned. Commander Kaelin staggered out of the veil, bruised, broken, and bleeding. But alive, the path back home stretched before him. But so did something else. A whisper. Lyra's voice, Seraphine's voice, Thorn's voice, Dorian's voice, Elandor's voice. Stay, join us. The forest needs you. Kaelin fell to his knees. The veil was dead, but its echoes lived in him. He could go home. He could tell the tale. He could bring closure. But he also sensed a truth, a dark one. The evil of Aeltharan was not entirely vanquished. It lived in the soil, in the air, in him. If he returned to Aradia, the corruption might spread. He clenched his fists. With trembling resolve, he whispered, For Aradia, I will not return. Kaelin rose, turned away from the kingdom, and walked deeper into the wilderness, ensuring the darkness would die with him. X Epilogue. The Queen's Tears. In Aradia, the people waited. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, but no warrior returned. Queen Meloria stood at the highest tower every sunset, watching the eastern horizon, hoping for a single silhouette. None appeared. She ordered a ceremonial monument built, the pillar of the fallen Dawn Shield, inscribed with 30 names, and at the top a final line. They went into the darkness so we might live in the light. They sent their finest warriors, none returned home to tell the tale. But the queen believed in her heart that one warrior survived, and somewhere, deep in the ruins of the veil, a lone figure in golden armor walked eternally between life and silence, carrying the memory of every fallen hero. Aradia was safe, but the price was everything.